9. My name is Edith Fuentes, and I will be conducting the hearing as hearing officer. We have 4 cases today, and relevant exhibits are posted on the panels located directly behind me. Let me just quickly go through our hearing procedure. Under the provisions of Title 30, Chapter 30 of the Glendale Municipal Code, a variance shall be granted if 4 required findings are present. 1. That the strict application of the ordinance would result in practical difficulties or unnecessary hardship inconsistent with the general purposes and intent of the ordinance. 2. That there are exceptional circumstances or conditions applicable to the property involved or to the intended use or development of the property that do not apply generally to other property in the same zone or neighborhood. 3. That the granting of the variance will not be materially detrimental to the public welfare or injurious to the property or improvements in such zone or neighborhood in which the property is located. And 4. That the granting of the variance will not be contrary to the objectives of the ordinance. Also, under the provisions of Title 30, Chapter 30 of the Glendale Municipal Code, a conditional use permit shall be granted if 4 required findings are present. 1. That the proposed use will be consistent with the elements and objectives of the general plan. 2. That the use and its associated structures and facilities will not be detrimental to the public health or safety, the general welfare, or the environment. 3. That the use and facilities will not adversely affect or conflict with adjacent uses or impede the normal development of surrounding property. And 4. That adequate public and private facilities will be provided for the use. For applications involving the sale, serving, or consumption of alcoholic beverages, the 5 criteria set forth in the zoning code shall also be met. If the evidence presented in the application and at the hearing meets the criteria just described, then the zoning administrator can either approve or impose conditions for approval on the case in question. If the findings of fact are not evident, then the request will be denied. Notification of this hearing was accomplished by the use of public notices, which were mailed to property owners located within 500 feet of the subject property, physically posted on the site in question, and placed in the local newspaper. The hearing will proceed as follows. I will read the description of the application or the request, and then read reports received from other city departments and other letters or communications from interested parties. The case planner or the staff will be making a brief presentation and recommendation for the case. The applicant will then be asked to come forward, stating both name and address, and will be asked to present the case within a 15-minute time limit. Others in support of or in opposition to the application and any interested parties will be asked to come forward to speak, again clearly stating both name and address within a 3-minute time limit. Lastly, the applicant will be given the opportunity to make closing comments if desired in response to testimonies given by preceding speakers within a 5-minute time limit. The hearing will be closed and the case taken under submission. After the hearing, the decision will be prepared in writing and will be in the form of a letter sent to the applicant and to all persons who responded to the public notice, either by speaking at this hearing or by submitting written responses and have provided their name and mailing address. I would like to emphasize that the date of the decision will be the date appearing on the letter. Under the appeal provisions of Title 30, Chapter 30 of the Glendale Municipal Code, The decision may be appealed to the Planning Commission within 15 days of the date of the decision. Anyone wishing to appeal may obtain forms and brochures on the procedures from our Building and Safety Section Permit Services Center located on the same floor of this building. If you wish to speak, please write your name and address on one of these speaker forms, which have been provided by the front door, and submit it to our planning assistant. I would like to also inform everyone that the official proceedings of the zoning administrator's hearing are recorded on tape as part of public record. Our first case is variance 2008-017. Location is 1149 Cordova Avenue. Applicant is AMAC Group. This is an application for a setback variance to legalize 2 wood gates, 7 feet and 6 1/4 inches, and 6 feet and 2 1/4 inches in height, within the street front and street side setbacks, respectively. And let me see. Noted that the existing wire fence, the 6-foot-high freestanding pilaster with camera, and the 6-foot-high decorative ladders will be removed. The existing pilasters with walkway lighting will be lowered to less than 5 feet to comply with code. Property is located at 1149 Cordova Avenue in the R1 low-density residential zone described as Lot 13, Block 11 of Rosemoyne Tract. And let me just quickly go through some of the comments. From maintenance services, they have concerns about the existing street trees in front of the proposed project, and they are suggesting to provide specific details specified in the attachments for the protection of the 3 trees during construction and removal of 1 Chinese pistache tree growing under the canopy of the oak tree. Remove all vegetation from the 2-foot basin of the magnolia and Chinese trees. And they have attached the tree protection standards here. So what I'd like you to do is, if you don't have a copy yet, get a copy. And our file is open to anyone if you would like to get a copy of some of those. And it will be a good idea to also meet with them and discuss some of the comments they have here. From a neighbor on, is Beth Walker here? Okay. So, from a neighbor on Cordova, basically in opposition of the application. And her reason is approving this variance would make permanent the significant out-of-character changes that have negatively impacted the value of the neighboring properties. Okay. Jolene Taylor here. Again, in opposition to the application. Susan Sampson? Okay. Basically in opposition of the application. And she has major issues regarding the hedges and the two gates, which is not in keeping with the surrounding landscaping and definitely out of place. I see Mr. Schrader is here, so I'm just and Samantha Good is also here. From Neighborhood Services, we have John Brownell and Renee Sada here. You still have an open case on this, and you're waiting for the result. Okay. From Fire Department, you may need to provide Knox box for emergency access, so you may want to discuss that with them too. And I have a note here from Susanna Delis, just reminding me about the wire fence. So the wire fence is out of the question, and we don't have to deal with that. Okay. Did I see our Traffic and Transportation Administrator? Okay, Mr. Jano Bagdanian. We'll call on you. Staff report, Mr. Gevorg?
Yes.
Lazarian. Okay. Morning.
Thank you, Ms. Fontes. I'll quickly go over the project description again. It is to legalize...
Give me your name and address. Just kidding. Just name.
My name is Gevorg Nazarian.
Okay.
And the application is for a setback variance to legalize 2 wood gates at approximately 7.5 feet and 6 foot and 2 inches in height that are in the street front and street side setbacks. This setback regulation, according to the zoning code, would be 25 feet in the front and 6 feet at the street side. The existing wire fence, which is approximately 4 feet in height, will be removed. The 6-foot-high freestanding pilaster with the camera on top will be removed, and as well as the 6-foot-high decorative ladders will be also removed. And the existing pilasters that are lighting up, that have lighting on them, which are to light up a walkway, will be lowered to less than 5 feet, which is allowed by code. This project, just a brief history of it, it was heard on August 27 of 2008, during which time applicant did spell out the the variances they were asking for, including the wire fence and everything else. But there was an error made in the noticing, and it was advertised as just fence around the property. And so we had it re-noticed, and an applicant did make sure or made it clear for us that they will be removing most of these items, and the only thing that will require variance and that they're asking for today is the wood gates. The project site is a rectangular typical lot of 7,120 feet, and it is in the corner. It's got a structure on it of about 2,800 square feet. It's a single-family residence that was built in 1924. The applicant stated that the wood gates are to provide security for the for the current owner. Staff believes that security reasons alone cannot be justified as hardship on or unnecessary difficulties for the owner. So just wanted to make that point and make it clear that the security reasons alone, staff believes cannot be justified as hardship. And like I said, the lot is essentially rectangular and flat, and it is of a typical size. So staff did not see any exceptional circumstances as far as existing conditions of the lot goes. The only thing is that it is in the corner, but there are, which does in a way differ from regular interior lots, but there was a variance approved back in '78 to provide privacy for the pool area, which was in the side yard facing Stalker. So, and lastly, the intent of the guideline was to keep the open vistas in the front and any frontage that's facing the street, whether that's street side or street front. The intent of the guideline is to keep them open with landscaping. And currently there is quite some landscaping with hedges, which zoning code does not prevent or regulate against. And the only two open vistas left would be the openings of those gates. And staff recommends or asks the zoning administrator to consider possibly a different type of material for those gates which would be more transparent and preserve those remaining open vistas between those pilasters, which would be at the edges of those hedges. And again, that would be the only way we could try to keep the intent of the guidelines or the ordinance, which is to keep open vistas. However, it is already enclosed with a hedge, which is landscaping as well. So the staff's recommendation at this point would be to consider looking at that specific alternative, if the zoning administrator decides to do so, to at least make one of the findings, which would be finding D. And that pretty much concludes my presentation. The applicant is here, and they will go over the findings, try to make those findings themselves. If you have questions for me, of course, I'm also available.
Okay, I may have a couple of questions later on, so let me. Okay, to present the case, who will present, Armic or Ara? Ara Vartanian.
Hello, Ms. Fuentes. Ara Vartanian, 639 West Broadway. Pretty much last time this case was continued from August 27, 2008, just like Gavork Nazarian said, due to inconsistencies with the applicant's proposals and the city's public noticing. Since then, we have had numerous meetings with different city officials so we could bring the project up to more code conforming. Our new proposals offer compromises to two of the three variance items that were proposed before. These include the removal of the chain link fence and lowering the pilasters to less than 5 feet, which is allowed by the Glendale Municipal Code. So right now, our only proposal is going to be for a setback variance to allow the two wood gates in the street front and street side. Pretty much our findings remain the same from the first hearing, from our first presentation, and I would like to reiterate the needs for the variance, pretty much the hardships. My first reason is security. The property owner is a single mother with children and also a small dog. The security that these gates provide her, due to the nature of some of her circumstances before, are needed by her. It doesn't matter how people say the community can be safe, it can't be safe. What's needed by her, her feeling of safety, is more important than what the community thinks is safe. The second one is hardship. The lot is a corner lot. Unfortunately, corner lots, due to the shape and layout, have a very minimum backyard space. The gates will provide an enclosed area for her children, dog, and family to enjoy. At this time, I'd like to present you a letter that is signed by 14 neighbors in favor of the project.
Thank you.
That letter shows that we have 14 signatures from the neighborhood supporting the project. The gates are even an architectural complement to the project. Their Spanish design complements the existing Spanish-style home, actually very tastefully. They in no shape or form make them look like a fortress, like some of the neighbors have said. A fortress simply requires walls. If you look at the plans, we're not proposing any one wall, so that's just a foolish statement. I have the property owner's representatives. I also have the lead consultant, Armik Shanazarian, in the audience, which will go over the facts. So at this time, my introduction to the case is...
Are you going to go through all the 4 findings, or somebody else going to finish?
Oh, Mr. Shanazarian will go through the
Okay,
facts.
thank you. Mr. Armik Shanazarian. Good morning.
Mrs. Fuentes. Armik Shanazarian with AMAC Group, 639 West Broadway. As indicated by the staff,
You're going to have to project a little bit because we have few people trying to listen. Okay.
Okay. As indicated by the Mr. Nazarian, there was a variance granted in 1978, which would allow to encroach into the setback area. One fact that I want to bring that's not mentioned in this case was the fact that there are so many fences and gates and retaining walls that exist in the city of Glendale, and the city council has put a restriction or stop on them due to the fact that so many are encroached into the setback area. And I just want to bring the fact that there was existing pilaster there was an existing wood gate there, which is shown on the pictures. I just submitted to Mr. Nazarian. And what my client has done basically is just merely remove that gate and replace it with the wood gate again. Now, consider the fact that even if she would have not done this thing and she would plant the hedges over there, merely the fact that some of the neighbors complaining or even the staff is saying that to have a orientation of the code is to have an open space for a view. If I put a plants over there, it would still cover it. And there's not such a thing as far as the zoning code preventing my clients putting any hedges or trees or anything in there to provide the security. So this is mainly an access issue, and it's been there. So my client just merely changed it for maintenance purposes, just replace it with the new wood, basically door. This is just merely some of the facts. If you have any questions that I could be...
You can finish the findings if you want. And yeah.
Oh, okay. As far as the findings, I may get my
I think Mr. Vartanian basically went through the first and second. Is it the old?
Old and new.
As far as item number 3, while granting of the variance not be detrimental to the public welfare, as I indicated before, there are so many houses that already have the gates or fences at the front setback area. So basically, we're just trying to maintain, even though my client increased the height of it in order to support the door, basically, but it just didn't change the character of the premises, so it didn't affect anything in there. Item number 4, as far as finding viable granting of the variance in keeping with the objectives of the applicable regulations. I guess the intention of the code will be to maintain basically what I believe is that we at this point the regulations that we have just as far as the city council put a hold on it, so we're not doing anything out of sight or anything unnecessary. We're trying to get a variance to comply with the code, even though, I mean, as I said, the client had maintained, has repaired the gate, but basically, based on a recent city council or previous city council, what can I say, approvals, we basically...
Policy or direction?
Policies, yeah, direction. We have not done anything irregular, just...
Is this the old?
This is the old
That's
one.
the picture of the old gate? And that's the way
That's the way
two
it was.
pilasters
Yes.
were? Okay. And this is the new? Okay. So what we're basically saying is when the owner bought the property, this
Was the existing
was there.
one. Yes.
And what she did is just,
Just, yes,
okay, change it to this one.
change it to that.
Okay. Anything else?
Just basically, I guess there would be one of our team members or staff will read some letters from the...
Okay, thank you. Givort, you better guard this with your life. Okay, Charles Olivares.
Morning.
Good morning.
My name is Charles Oliveris. I'm an executive protection specialist, in layman terms, bodyguard hired by CBS Television for my client. I have two letters I'd like to read to you. One is from the city of Glendale, confirming that my client, does have an ongoing case. The case pertains to threats direct to my client as well as her 7-year-old daughter, as well as a second letter from the U.S. Department of Justice, Federal Bureau of Investigation, regarding my client being a member of the Victim Assistance Program, stating that the crime victim, as a crime victim, she has the right to be, or the following rights under 18 United States Code 3771, the right to be reasonably protected from the accused. In my experience in 11 years in this business, these are very high-level threats, and there is definitely a need for that type of security for my client. There was also an issue made as to the crime in that area. The police department's statistics show that 341 service calls from the police department were made in a 5-block radius of that home in 2008. Thank you.
Okay. Can I? Oh, are you gonna?
We will submit these little black out to me.
Thank you. Randall Sunshine.
I'm going to pass it.
Okay. Joey Marino. Okay. I just want the record to reflect your, let me see. Randall is in support of the application.
Yes.
Joey Marino is in support of the application. Samantha Good.
Good morning. Thanks
Good morning.
for hearing us.
Give me your name and address for the
My
record.
name is Samantha Good, and I live at 1141 Cordova Avenue, which is 2 houses down from the house in question. I think, as is clear from the staff's recommendation, which we appreciate, which goes through the 4 required findings, as well as the failure to even substantiate any of those findings by the homeowner's advisors, that the request here relates solely to personal desires, and each of the 4 findings clearly require that it be something about the property, and that just hasn't been shown. I'm not sure about these gates. I know that if one, and these new pictures, but I will say that if you look at the thing that's farthest to the left on the bottom, which is the for sale information, which is the side street, there is no gate. There are pilasters, but there's no door. So I'm not exactly sure what date stamps are on the other information. I frankly don't remember there being a gate in the front on the Cordova side, but things change. I'd like to give a little background here so that you can understand why we care as neighbors. We are members of the Ross Moines Mountain Homeowners Association, so we are usually caring about what's going on in the neighborhood. As residents of Glendale, we're entitled to the protections of the law, and we frankly found out about these rules because when the construction was being done on this house, I had a newborn baby, and it was happening all day long and after 7 p.m. and on Sundays. And when I went outside to speak to the people that were doing the work, I was fairly intimidated by them myself. They were rude. They continued working, and we actually had to call neighborhood services and the police. And that was when we were advised by the city, neighborhood services, that in fact the things that were being built were in violation of the law. And there was a cease and desist order put there. So I realize that I only have a minute left, but I don't understand how, when there's a failure to find any of the required findings here, and you have a neighbor who has shown a willful desire to ignore what the rules are by persisting after it's been brought to their attention, why that person should get any sort of favoritism. I'm sorry for the fears for their security, but perhaps they should have bought a house in a different neighborhood. In fact, I'm aware that this person is looking for a house because we were alerted that there's a television show on a Saturday evening where Ms. Eva LaRue was going through on television, I think it was on NBC, looking at houses. And I wonder, if someone has a stalker, why would they go on television and show people the houses that they're looking at? The whole thing to me is bothersome, especially since it's really been a burden on us as neighbors. Appreciate your consideration of this.
Thank you. Leila Ramirez.
I could almost make it up here. Good morning, Mrs. Fuentes, members of the staff. I'm Leila Ramirez, and I am president of the Ross Moines Mountain Homeowners Association. Initially, just let me state, because I did contact you back in August, I was away on vacation, usually my summer vacation, and I was informed about this project, and I picked up my my notice, which I get, and the application was for a setback variance to allow construction, installation of wire fence along the front and side property lines, and of course then cites the code. And to me, when I went out and checked, this stuff's already there. So the notice, in my opinion, is misleading to begin with.
And that's the old notice, so
The old
we
notice.
re-noticed the whole thing.
Well, I never got the renotice, but if that went for the August one, and well, there's a new notice on that one, the one that was continued, I guess. But so I did contact you and speak with you about this, and then I did for the March 8th hearing write you a note on behalf of the Ross Moines Mountain Homeowners Association that we maintain our position, and we are on record firmly in support of preserving the prevailing setbacks within the boundaries of our association in full accord with the reference municipal code. The reference municipal code states, "No person shall construct, locate, or maintain any building, wall, fence, or structure within 25 feet space between the street front property line and the setback line, and within 6 feet space between street side property line and the setback line in the R1 zone, according to the Glendale Municipal Code, Section 30.11.030. That is our reason for opposing this. And although we do have a great concern about safety, all you have to do is move back the walls, the fence, the hedge, whatever, and safety is guaranteed if you can actually do it with a fence. The variance setback application is of particular interest to us as Cordova Avenue is one of the boundaries of the original Ross Moines tract, which is currently being studied for historic district designation by us. Maintaining our prevailing setbacks is critical to protecting the integrity of the Ross Moines tract streetscape and is integral to the preserving of the historical character of our residential neighborhood. Our stated position and effort to protect prevailing setbacks requires that we strongly oppose the reference application at 1149 Cordova Avenue. Our position is squarely in keeping with the intent and the letter of the Historic District Guidelines adopted by the City Council and in strict compliance with the zoning code. We respectfully request that you deny the application.
Thank you. Brian Schrader.
Morning, Ms. Fuentes. My name
Good
is
morning.
Brian Schrader, and I'm a resident and homeowner at 1141 Cordova Avenue, 91207, and I'm a member of the Ross Moines Mountain Homeowners Association. I won't repeat what's been said previously. I would just go to say, since the only reason Eva LaRue is seeking this variance is for her personal security, that I have a wife and 2-year-old child, and I'm concerned for our security also. Having an open neighborhood is what we have had. And this openness, besides being the intent of the original developer, aids in the neighborhood security because someone suspicious or unknown can be more easily seen if things are open, which they're not at the corner. Granting this variance, which allows in large part the security perimeter of this house to remain, is completely detrimental to our neighborhood security. It is also against the city's code, the desires of the surrounding community, the past and present city policies, and any reasonable decision-making. I'll just add that my wife and I received a letter from an attorney for Eva LaRue this morning in an attempt to intimidate us and to stop the opposition. It's chock full of lies. There's nothing true in it. And the one thing, I took photographs which I've supplied to the city. I was instructed to do so by a case planner whose name I can easily provide. When I said there was illegal construction still going on after a stop work order had been issued by Renee Sada. I confirmed it with Renee. I called, and a city planner said, well, you should take pictures of the illegal construction going on. That's the only time I've ever taken photographs. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anybody else here who would like to speak in support or in opposition to this application? Okay, I have a... Why don't you just come over, and if you have not filled out one of these, you can do it later on, okay? Just give me your name and address for the record.
Yes, my name is John Callahan. I am the father of Eva's daughter. She is our daughter, Kaya. I live in Palm Desert at 72816 Willow Street in Palm Desert. Okay. Is this about a foot of a wall? I hope. No. Okay. Okay. And is this about slander? No. Is this about an attorney who, when she had a newborn, had some construction and they were mean to her? I believe this is an emotional issue. On the other side, you have my wife and my daughter, who are threatened by a guy who wants to come and disembowel and rape and have my 7-year-old watch, and then rape her and then kill her. I would put up the Great Wall of China if I could, but I can't. I'm just asking you to be reasonable and fair and take all this neighborhood bickering out of it and realize that the posts were there prior and there was no argument. It's just when people were mean to each other that things started. And to paraphrase Rodney King, can't we all get along? I thank you very much. Have a good day.
Thank you. If you would.
I'd be happy to.
Okay, Miss LaRue, you can get it from the front.
Okay.
Yeah, but-
Thank you very much.
Good morning.
Good morning. Eva LaRue, and I live at 1149 Cordova. It has completely gotten out of hand. I was aware of that, that there was no ruling on whether there were allowed to be walls or fences or gates or anything in setback areas. I have pictures of houses all over the neighborhood with similar structures in them that have not been ruled against one way or the other. Not only that, but the neighbors the Schrader Good family have basically a cage around their front door that literally looks like a cage. So I'm not quite sure how they fit into the historic area, because I think their house was built like in the 70s. To speak to a girlfriend of mine asked me to go be on a show, like an open house LA show. If I could afford a house like that, I certainly wouldn't be living next to these, people who have actually harassed the neighborhood. I have 5 neighbors who signed my petition, who told me stories of them hanging over their backyards, taking pictures into their houses, pictures into their yards. It might sound funny, but they actually are corroborating the story and willing to write letters. So these people have been allowed to bully, intimidate people at the city, people in the neighborhood. One of their neighbors actually told me that they didn't even go to the city first to get city planning commission or even go to get variances. They went to them first because they knew that they would be in opposition of everything. They've called the police on many neighbors. One lady who lives around the corner from me, she's lived there 30 years. They threatened to call the police on her because she was sanding her house for painting. The other people, they were taking pictures into their backyard and into their home as they were doing work in their backyard. Those are the people who live directly behind them. They called the police also on my neighbor over here because they heard chainsawing or something and attributed it to him, called him and called the police on him. These people have been allowed to literally police the neighborhood and bully the neighborhood. And when they started making slanderous remarks to my neighbors about things that they thought were going on behind my hedges, that's when I had to finally call a lawyer. I called a lawyer a couple days ago because I heard what they were saying about me to other people, and that's absolutely not okay. You cannot bully people like this. And I know that they've sent numerous letters to you guys for 2 years, which is just, it's sad, really, that it goes back to basically what John said, which was, yes, it started off on a bad foot. There was noise during when construction happening when they were having a baby. They got upset about it. It's been 2 years now, and literally this comes down for me for security. If you take down my gates, I have no barrier, and I am protected under the FBI's assistance detection that I'm allowed to have a barrier, and the barrier was there before I moved there. So the fact that this is a fortress. It's a hedge. I could storm the hedge myself. It's a hedge. What I do like, though, is having the gates, at least that's some form of barrier between me and the street. And before the stalker situation even happened, I would have people coming up to my house, and again, I'm a single mom with a little girl, and people would come up at 9 o'clock at night. We've all had this where, they're trying to sell you everything from, Save the Whales to buy magazines. But I wouldn't open my door because how do you know if you open your door at 9 o'clock at night and there's not somebody standing right around to, jump in? So that scared me before even having, and like I said, I have pictures of the front of their house. They literally have a cage around their front door. So I think mine's much prettier. Mine's my house. For them to say that my house is actually bringing down the value of the neighborhood is actually laughable because mine's the most expensive house on the street, and theirs actually looks. I can show you pictures of it, but it actually brings down. While everybody else is fixing their homes on the street and they're calling the city and calling the police, they're the only ones who haven't fixed up their house.
Okay. Thank you very much. And I forgot to mention, for the record, I have this letter signed by 14 neighbors in support of the application. Okay. I guess I'm going to consider that as the rebuttal. Or closing comments. Do you have anything else to add? I'll give you another minute or two. So.
Ara Vartanian, AMAC Group again. I want to go over 3 points. One of them is Ms. Diaz's, how she said the historic character of the neighborhood. If you look at the gates, they complement the Spanish home. They are Spanish gates themselves. They're aged, over 100 years old, Spanish gates. So it's not like we're putting wrought iron or we're not putting a metal gate there, which is going to be totally irrelevant with the existing historic characteristic, as she's saying. So that's my point number one. Point number two is the city council. For people that don't know, city council in 2005 passed an ordinance that whatever gate was there existing, if it was made before on 2005 or before, they could keep it until city council came up with their in the future. My third one is about Mr. Good and Ms. Schrader. It's pretty clear to have a clear bias towards my client. Doesn't matter what we propose, what we not propose, their comments are always going to be negative, as many other neighbors have experienced. Pretty much, they're just disgruntled neighbors, and I don't think they should affect this case. And I'm open to any questions you might have.
Oh, I'm glad you mentioned the wrought iron gate because staff alluded to the recommendation of having a wrought iron gate to keep that open space or visibility kind of, and then you kind of countered that with the gate being more in keeping with the historic nature of the neighborhood.
That's correct. For example, like Ms. Diaz, she said the historic character of the neighborhood. If we put a wrought iron gate like the staff recommend, it's going to be two different poles. It's going to be a Spanish home with a wrought iron gate. It's pretty much ridiculous. At least the gate we're proposing now is a Spanish home that complements the Spanish house. It's not it's not anything out of question, or it's like tasteful. It goes hand in hand pretty much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Gevorg.
Yes.
You heard, staff was kind of recommending consideration of wrought iron gates.
Yes, wrought iron was mentioned only as an example, but any sort of gate that creates or provides transparency was the main logic behind it. And of course it would have to be, matching in the style of with the existing house.
Okay, so we'll have to look into architectural style matching the house style and something. Okay. And with that, I'm going to go ahead, take this case under submission, and we'll let you know. Thank you all very much for coming. You're going to have to see the case planner later on. I have 3 other cases yet to take care of.
Thanks for coming.
Okay. Our next case is variance 2008-045. Location is 460 Edwards Place. Applicant is Shorig Yepremian. This is an application for a variance to add 549 square foot of floor area to an existing 1,283 square foot single-family dwelling, which exceeds the allowable lot coverage by 0.5%. This is half a percent, and construct a new attached 525 square foot garage within the 15 feet or foot front setback without providing the minimum 18 feet long driveway located at 460 Edwards Place in the R1R restricted residential zone, described as lot 71, tract number 10036. And I just want to make it clear, they are asking for 3 items. The request is for 3 items. Lot coverage, garage setback from the front property line, which is 11 feet, and a driveway length. Okay. It was written unclear for me. Okay, let me just quickly go through some of the comments. Is Roger Porter or Helen Porter here? Okay. Basically in opposition of the application. From engineering, drainage plan is required. Method of discharge of on-site drainage shall be approved by the city engineer. Separate permits are required for all work performed within the public right-of-way, and additional requirements may be required after the initial submittal of final engineering plans for building plans check. And from traffic and transportation, just making note of their concerns that the resulting driveway would be 11 feet in length. Hence, vehicles could not be parked in the driveway, only in the garage. And this would require a third or more vehicle to park off-site, such as the street. So. From fire prevention, making note this is a high fire hazard area, and Glen Oaks Canyon is limited to single route for ingress and egress, and there is increased exposure with reduced setbacks. Code requirements would be fire sprinklers and permit, and landscaping and permit per code requirements. And suggested condition is that the structures must be retrofitted with an automatic fire sprinkler system, regardless whether or not improvements meet the 50% valuation threshold. So you may want to discuss that requirement with them. Those are all the comments I have. So to present the case, Shari.
Good morning, Ms. Fuentes. Shari Yepremian Consulting Inc. You have my address and phone number in the file. I'm here representing the current property owner and the resident of 460 Edwards Place, David Yeremian. He's present today at this hearing. So is the project architect, Franco Noravian. The proposal as... were you supposed to make a presentation first?
Oh, I forgot.
I can do it for you.
You sounded like you were the staff, right?
Yeah, I can
okay,
go
well,
on.
yeah, I forgot.
Would you like him to go first, or
Yes,
I can?
I would
Okay.
prefer. Yeah,
I'll
he goes
come back.
first. Thank you. You should have stopped me.
I
David.
didn't know.
Yeah. Just
Good
say,
morning,
wait. Okay, go ahead.
Good morning, Ms. Fuentes. This is Gabriel Rezel of the Planning Department. I'm just going to go over briefly the project description. Well, actually, I'm just going to go over the project location
Okay.
of the existing site. The existing site is located at the intersection of Edwards Place and Gardner's Place. The subject property is only 4,700 square feet and contains a slight slope. The existing residence is 1,283 square feet and was built in 1938. As you mentioned, Ms. Fuentes, the project is proposing the approval of 3 variances. The first variance is for lot coverage. Lot coverage is proposed at 40.5%, where a maximum of 40% is allowed. The proposed 549 square foot addition is modest in size, and the approval of lot coverage variance will help enable construction of a new conforming garage that will replace an existing substandard garage. The second request is for the street front setback requirement. The project proposes a street front setback of 11 feet, while a 15-foot street front setback is required. Again, staff reviewed that the lot size is only 4,700 square feet and has a depth of 68 feet. On to the third request. The third request is for a minimum driveway standard of 18 feet. Minimum driveway length standards are designed to ensure that automobiles parked in the driveways will not impede access on pedestrians walking on sidewalks or vision, such as to create such safety concerns. The project proposes an 11-foot long driveway instead of a minimum required 18 feet. Given that there is a 15-foot unimproved right-of-way, the driveway is approximately 26 feet in depth and can fill the purpose of this regulation. Staff confirmed with the Public Works Department, and I believe in their comments they did not comment that there was going to be any future development of the right-of-way or of the sidewalk. As far as the staff recommendations, it's as follows. Staff believes that all the findings can be made in a positive manner due to the project's small scale, lack of any likely impacts, anticipated design improvements, and topographic conditions. Staff recommends approval of this variance.
You almost feel like not doing a presentation, right? Thank you very much, Gabe.
Thank you, Ms. Fuentes.
And I don't have any questions, so I will go to Ms. Yepremian.
I'll start again. Good morning, Ms. Fuentes. Shorik Yepremian, Yepremian Consulting, Inc. You have my address and phone number in the file. I'm here on behalf of the current property owner, David Yeremian, who's present here today to also speak on behalf of his project, as well as the project architect, Franco Noravian. The proposal, like Gabriel mentioned, is to add 549 square feet of livable floor area to an existing 1,283 square foot house, and to also demolish a non-conforming or substandard two-car garage and build a new two-car garage which meets current code requirement. There's also mature, I believe, 2 oak trees at the corner of Gardner and Edwards proposed to be remained. That oak tree is in the public right-of-way. As you can see from the site plan, there's a swimming pool at the northwest corner of the property. There are 3 variance requests, as Gabrielle mentioned. One is the lot coverage, 40.5%. The code requires 40% in R1R restricted residential zone. The proposed lot coverage for this particular case is 1,903 square feet. Out of that, 525 is for the new two-car garage. So the house portion of the lot coverage is only 1,378 square feet. The second item is the garage setback at 11 feet, and as well as the driveway length at 11 feet. The burden of proof is on the applicant. I would like to go over the findings for the record. I have also submitted the written findings as part of the application along with all the exhibits located behind you. The proposed project, as I mentioned in the written finding, is to add 549 square feet of livable floor area to the existing 1,283 square foot house on a 4,700 square foot corner lot. The project is also proposing to rebuild the existing non-conforming two-car garage to meet the minimum interior dimensions per current code. Currently, the two-car garage that's on the property is 15 feet 8 inches by 17 feet. So it's definitely less than what the code requires right now, which is 20 by 20 interior. The project is also proposing to demolish the northeast corner of the house, which is currently used as a bedroom, to meet the 5-foot setback. Currently, that corner is at 4 feet 5 inches. So part of this project, that corner will be also demolished to meet current code, which is 5 feet. The strict application of the provision of the ordinance would result in practical difficulties or unnecessary hardship inconsistent with the general purposes and intent of the ordinance, in that the existing non-conforming or substandard two-car garage already has a 14-foot 5-inch front setback, and the single-family house has a 24-foot street front setback fronting Edwards Place. The house was built in 1938 when the code did not require front or side setbacks. It was not until 1952 when ordinance number 2586 established the 25-foot front setback and the 5-foot side setback. Since the house and the two-car garage buildings are oriented towards Edwards Place and the location of the swimming pool on Gardner Place direction, the only reasonable addition reasonable location for the proposed addition is towards the street front direction on Edwards Place. The location of the swimming pool prevents a reasonable addition to the house towards Gardner's Place. So that option was out of the question to begin with. In order for the building to comply with current front setback code requirement for both the garage and the required 18-foot driveway length, a reasonable addition on the house will be impossible, and this itself creates a hardship. The strict application of the lot coverage code requirement would result in an addition that will be difficult to design due to the size of the lot, its configuration, the location of the existing non-conforming garage, and the house location in relation to the lot. The proposed project is only requesting a minor increase in the lot coverage, only by 0.5% or 0.5%, where the code allows a maximum of 40%. The proposed livable area and the new two-car garage increases the lot coverage limit by only 23 square feet if we have to translate that 5.5%. Minor lot coverage increase will make the non-conforming garage to code compliance. We believe that the benefit of a legal two-car garage is which is more functional, is greater than a 0.5 lot coverage increase. And again, the proposed project will bring both the rear setback as well as the size of the two-car garage to code compliance. And of course, I would like to remind you that the project meets all of the other code provisions like floor area ratio, landscaping, and height, and so forth. Number two, what is unique about the property involved or the intended use or development of the property? The subject substandard property is 4,700 square feet with 74.5 feet of frontage on Edwards Place and 51.34 feet on frontage on Gardner's Place. The subject site is a corner property with a house and garage facing Edwards Place rather than Gardner's Place. According to city map, Edwards Place is 30 feet wide within the 60-foot right-of-way, 15 feet on each side of Edwards Place. The new garage is proposed to be located 11 feet from the front property line, which is 26 feet from curb. Therefore, there is more than 18 feet of driveway length from curb, which provides sufficient visibility as drivers enter and exit the garage. I would like to also remind you that the new addition, which is above the garage, is set back 15 feet, so the second floor meets the code requirement. Furthermore, the proposed garage location at the setback that's proposed is similar to adjacent buildings' setbacks on Edwards Place. And I would like to submit an exhibit for the record. This map was obtained from Public Works Engineering section, which highlights the streets as well as the existing building footprints of the area in question. What we did is we utilized street sections, again from engineering section, and on-site measurements of existing buildings. And you can see from this exhibits that the rest of the houses or structures in the immediate area have similar setbacks, some with even 2 feet or 4 feet from the property line or even from the curb. That's correct. So those are some of the examples that we used to show that if you look at the house immediately right next to Mr. Yeremian's property, that's even closer in setback at this time. The new addition or the new garage location will be fairly at the same location. We also have mentioned in the written findings that the proposed location of the addition will have less than minimal impact to the property, the neighbors, and the environment without altering existing on-site conditions, since the wider side of the lot is fronting Edwards Place. The character and style of the proposed house is in keeping with the neighborhood. The project will be compatible in scale and design with the other development in the neighborhood. And Franco, after my presentation, will attest that he also met with Stephanie, Planning Division staff, to show her the proposed design. And number 3, while will granting of the variance not be detrimental to the public welfare? We believe that the granting of the variance will not be detrimental to the public welfare or injurious to the property or improvements in such zone or neighborhood in which the property is located. The surrounding neighborhood's front setback characteristics are similar to the proposed project, as you can see from the exhibits I submitted. The proposed development would maintain the existing interior setback, open space, and usable yard area in the front, thereby preserving the development's existing character. We also argue that the contemplated exterior treatment, as designed by Franco, would achieve the aesthetic homogeneity within the neighborhood context. I would also like to submit a petition that Mr. Yeremian collected from the immediate neighbors. He also met with the local neighborhood association to present the project and received some feedback from them as well. And finally, number 4, why will granting of the variance be in keeping with the objectives of the applicable regulation? The granting of the variance is in keeping with the objectives and the applicable regulations and the land use element of the general plan. The proposed development has been designed to blend in with the natural setting and built environment. The proposed development preserves the 2 oak trees in the front of the property located within the public right-of-way and the existing on-site landscaping. Again, the only reasonable location of the proposed floor area is behind the garage area and above the garage for one of the bedrooms. So we respectfully ask for an approval, and we do, of course, support the staff's recommendation. And I also have one more photo of the subject site.
Thank you.
That concludes my presentation. Franco Noravian is also present to speak.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Norabian. And just for the record, I have signed petition in support of the application from 5 neighbors. Thank you.
Good morning, Ms. Fuentes. My name is Franco Noravian, 409 West Broadway, Glendale, California, 91204. I'm the architect for the project. Just a couple of quick points. There was a comment from Public Works regarding drainage. That should not be a problem. Where the house currently is above street level, so drainage is not going to be a problem. There was a comment from Fire Department about their concern about reduced setbacks. Normally, the fire department is not concerned with the front setback because that's more than adequate. They're concerned about side setbacks. So, as Shorik mentioned in her presentation, we're actually making it better than it is now. It's less than 5 feet. We're making it 5 feet. The garage has 0 setback. It's right on the property line. We're making it a 5-foot setback. So that should not be a problem with the fire department. And we are planning to sprinkler the house. So the existing house as well as the addition, the entire house will be sprinklered. I thought I saw very briefly the letter from one of the neighbors that just came in that had a concern about access for emergency vehicles being restricted by our addition. And I just wanted to mention that, for one thing, we are improving the house. I mean, as far as fire safety, we're improving the house because it will be sprinklered, less chance of it causing a fire and endangering the rest of the neighborhood. So that's an improvement. But also, I don't think that the streets would never be widened anymore because of the oak trees. They're mature oak trees, and I don't think that the streets would be widened. So I don't think that access of emergency vehicles is a major concern. And I think that's it. Like Shorik mentioned, I did meet with the urban planner and Gabriel Reza, and they're pretty much in support of the project, and I look forward to continuing on with design review after we get our approval for the variance.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
David Yeremian, it's just missing a P, right? Yeah.
Good morning, Ms. Fuentes and staff. My name is David Yeremian. I am the owner of 460 Edwards Place with my wife, of course, and we have lived there for almost 2 years. We love the neighborhood. Glen Oaks Canyon is a very unique place, and it's the reason why we purchased the home in that neighborhood. And we're very sensitive to the characteristics of the neighborhood, the beautiful oak trees. I mean, that's the reason why we want to stay there. Part of the problem, though, is that when we purchased the house, it was just my wife and I. And as of today, we have an 11-month-old son, and he's starting to learn how to walk and run around. And obviously, that's causing some space issues for us in terms of square footage, which is the reason for the addition. We're basically going to be adding, right now, the house as it stands, it was originally built as a 2-bedroom, 1-bath house. There was a very small addition back in the 50s where they added a tiny 3rd bedroom and a very, very small bathroom, which is pretty much just used as storage for us because it's so small and there's no internal access to that bedroom. So what we want to do with the addition is basically make it a comfortable 3-bedroom, 2-bath house that can accommodate our family, which we're planning on, God willing, increasing the size of, having more children. The other thing I wanted to mention was that as it stands, we can't fit even one car in our garage because it's too small. It leaks water because of the way that the site is oriented, the way that water drains. The walls of the garage have been slowly eroding away. And so it's just, it needs to be rebuilt. What we're planning on doing is rebuilding it to code so that we can park both of our vehicles in the garage. As it stands now, we park one in the driveway and one on the side street. So as my consultants have said, we're planning on improving the property in that perspective. And what I did was, this plan that you have on the board behind you was over a year in the making. Because I have been considering how to do this addition within the restrictive code. I have approached every one of my immediate neighbors and shown them our proposal, discussed any concerns they've had, and everyone has unanimously supported the project. What I then did was I took my proposal to the Homeowners Association in Glen Oaks Canyon, presented it at a meeting there. The president said that they don't officially support projects as an HOA, but nobody raised any concerns at the Homeowners Association meeting. And again, individually, people came up to me, board members, and supported the project. The house is 70 years old now, and it just needs some work. The previous owners took very good care of the house, but any wood structure that's over 70 years old is going to need some work, and the time is right to do it.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Priscilla Castillo? Or, okay.
Good morning. My name is Priscilla Castillo. I'm an attorney with the City Attorney's Office of Los Angeles. My mother, my sister, and I all own houses in Glen Oaks Canyon, one on Hollister, one on Glen Oaks, and one on Bywood. Mm-hmm. And there's been 2 setback ordinances that have recently been considered in this area. I believe it was last year there was an ordinance change that requires a greater setback along Glen Oaks Boulevard, which is the main road leading into Glen Oaks Canyon. And there's now consideration of implementing a similar ordinance change that would require a greater setback along Hollister, which is the other major street going into the canyon. By the way, all three of us are members of the Glen Oaks Canyon Homeowners Association. So the idea that you're going to have a variance to have less of a setback on a small street that is perpendicular to Hollister seems inconsistent with the direction that the neighborhood is taking to having and preserving larger setbacks. This particular street, Edwards, is already narrow. This house is on a corner. There's a slope, so any additional construction would be awkward to begin with. There's a huge oak tree there. So there is a concern about access and emergency vehicles. But in general, it just seems inconsistent with the direction that the neighborhood is taking. So we are against any construction, any additional construction, any need for a variance. To the extent they can make their modifications and improve the house within the existing legal requirements, I don't have any problem with that. But I don't see a need to get variances from existing legal requirements.
Oh, do you want to get a copy of my decision letter?
Sure.
Can you give me you only wrote here Bywood
Sure.
Drive.
2418
91.
206.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mike Mohill? Long time no see.
Absolutely. Good morning. Mike Mohill. I live on Ashburton Place, about a half a mile north of, or east of the location. I love the homeowner said, I love the canyon. That's why people buy in Glen Oaks Canyon. They like the environment. Then once they've been in the canyon for a year or two, they say, I want to change the environment. I want to add a 2-story house. I want to push the house towards the street. I want to change the variance. I want to change the setbacks. Change once you're in. But I want to buy the neighborhood as is. Why did the owner buy in Edwards Place? Did he or she like the Glen Oaks Boulevard with the large setbacks? Did they like the environment when the home was purchased in the first place? The garage size was already known to the homeowner when he purchased it. There's a movement on Glen Oaks Canyon to return homes to return homes to the original setbacks and not push the homes towards the street. We've already done that on Glen Oaks Boulevard. We plan to do that now on Hollister Terrace and all the side streets in the whole canyon, in the original area of the Glen Oaks Homeowners Association, not the new areas. The burden is on the homeowner to build on existing setback rules. Buying a substandard lot is not the neighbor's problem. It was purchased knowing the limitations of the home on this site. Once the home is built, it will be mass in scale. The lot would be out of scale with the neighborhood. I'll call it a small mansion. Will also be the result of this completion. After all, a 2-story house on a small lot appears like a mansion. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else here who would like to speak in support or in opposition to this application? Hold on for 1 second. You're going to have closing comments, so closing comments, 5 minutes.
David Uremian, I live at 460 Edwards. I'm the homeowner of the property. I just wanted to raise 2 things. First of all, there was a comment made about concern for emergency access in the hearing today and in an email to you. I just want to point out that the fire department expressed no such concern. So that's clear. The second thing is that they called the house a mini mansion and that it would be massive on the property or appear massive. If you look at the renderings that we have and the site plan, you will see that the garage is already on Edwards Place and already barely 15 feet setback from the legal property line. and there's an additional 16-foot right-of-way that's unimproved. So realistically, from somebody walking down the street, the garage is already 26 feet set back. The proposed addition moves it forward a couple of feet, but again, Shorik has gone through the 4 reasons why that's required, and I think it would be rather ludicrous to call an 1,850 square foot house a mini mansion. Thank you.
Continue.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Fuentes. Just a couple of points. We have submitted all relevant exhibits, documentation, written findings to support this project. A couple of comments. Both Ms. Castillo and Mr. Mohill mentioned something about the Glen Oaks Canyon or Glen Oaks Boulevard setback changes. I think it was only applicable to Glen Oaks Boulevard, not Hollister yet. There were some discussions at council level looking into that, but there's no staff direction. Staff can address that perhaps. But that request has been either under review or not discussed at this time. And this is Edwards Place. It's not on Hollister. It's not on Glen Oaks Boulevard. So I don't agree with her comments. Mr. Mohill, again, as Mr. Yeremian said, this is not a mini mansion. It's a very modest house on a very small lot. Again, the setbacks, we did make the argument that there's a 15-foot public right-of-way, which gives the property owner sufficient space to enter the garage and leave without creating any visibility problems. The lot is unique because of the swimming pool at the northwest corner. It's a corner property, and the lot size is substandard. So the only reasonable modifications to be made, even if assuming that Mr. Yeremian demolishes this house and builds a new house, without any variances, it cannot be accomplished. So again, this is a small size lot. We believe 1,800 square foot house is reasonable and modest in size compared to the neighborhood averages.
Run by me again the positives that are happening to the house. The rear setback is existing at
4.5 feet, so it's non-conforming. So that corner will be demolished and we'll have 5-foot setback.
To meet the required
To
setback.
meet the setback requirement. Currently, the garage size is about 230, 240 square feet, so that's non-conforming substandard. So the garage will have 525 square feet, so 20 interior dimensions. But again, in order to accomplish that, we needed to ask for the variances requested.
And the addition itself above the garage is set pull back 15 feet from the front property line. Okay, just want to make that very clear. Okay, I'm going to go ahead, take this case under submission, and we'll let you know. Thank you very much for coming. Thank you, Gabe.
Thank you.
Our next case is variance 2008-044. Location is 460 West California Avenue. Applicant is Harry Babakanian. This is an application for a setback variance to install a handicap lift or considered a mechanical equipment with 17 feet 10 inches from the front property line, where a minimum of 20-foot front setback is required for a new 4-unit townhouse development located at 460 West California Avenue in the R1650 medium-density residential zone, described as Lot 33, tract number 839. And let me just quickly go through some of the comments. From Fire Engineering, There, as shown on plans, the location of the fire sprinkler riser is in violation of the Glendale Fire Code amendments for aesthetics. So it cannot be visible from the street, and let me see. This is only a preliminary review, and a full plan review must be done to ensure compliance with fire code requirements. From engineering, the drainage pattern as shown on the submitted drawing differs from the approved grading permit. The new drainage pattern shall be approved by the city engineer and shall be reflected in the as-built drawings of grading permit number 1468. Additional requirements may be required after the initial submittal of the engineering plans for building plans check. We have code requirements for tree protection standards, construction management, and tree planting standards and specifications from maintenance services. So you have to get a copy of this and make sure you're following the requirements. Okay, and staff report, Mr. Duong.
Thank you. Good morning, Zoning Administrator Fuentes. My name is Radha Duong with the Planning Department. As you've stated, this is a setback variance to construct a handicap lift in the front yard setback. The property is located in the R1650 zone, which is one of our multi-family zones. This zone requires a minimum of 20-foot front yard setback. The applicant is proposing a front yard setback with the construction of this lift to be at 17 feet 10 inches away from the front property line, which is 2 feet 2 inches short of meeting the zoning code. Just as background information, the project received design review approval for the construction of a new 4-unit, 2-story townhouse with a semi-subterranean parking below. This approval was granted on August 5th, 2004, and went through plan check, and building permits were issued on May 11, 2005. At that time, an accessible path of travel was not required by the building code, which was to meet the American with Disability Act. However, on July 1st, 2005, the building code was amended to require an accessible path of travel for all new multifamily, condominiums, and townhouse constructions. As evidenced by the photos behind you, the project is in mid-construction. For reasons unknown to staff, the project was abandoned and construction activity ceased. The matter was referred to the City Attorney's Office. This case actually came to the Planning Department from Neighborhood Services. And the building permits that were issued back in 2005, May 2005, were then deemed expired due to the inactivity on the project site. This was determined by the Building Inspection Office on September 11, 2008. Due to the expired permits, the project, in order to revive this project, it is subject to all current requirements, including zoning as well as building in this case. With the exception of the minimum front yard setback, the project will meet all other requirements for zoning, and which will remain unchanged. All of the findings in this case can be made in a positive manner. Staff recommends approval of the project case number, setback variance case number PVAR 2008-044 with some recommended conditions. These conditions are as follows: that the lift shall be maintained and operable at all times, that a backup generator shall be provided and connected to the lift in the event of a power failure, and that the lift shall be repaired within 24 hours upon notice of malfunction or disrepair, and that the lift shall be in good appearance at all times. And that concludes staff presentation.
Okay. I have one question on the timeline details that you have. On June 4th, 2008, it showed here that the last inspection was requested by the contractor, and yet they expired the permit in September. Was an inspection done in...
Yes, an inspection was done. However, when the inspector went out there, there was no change and there was no progress since from the last inspection.
So he denied the inspection.
Correct,
and expired the permit. Okay. Is there someone here who's going to present this case? Can I have your green speaker card? Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Fuentes. My name is Hair Baba Kanyan. I was designer for this project. The project, like brother told, it was approved May 11, 2005. After, the owner, they started building the project, and they went bankruptcy after all this stuff. And right now we have a new client who's going to continue the project and is buying the project in, like, the condition is like, let's call it critical, because the building standing there is not safe. It's also the safety issue too. To make it more faster to get the permits, finish the project. So in our case, so I have new codes. We need lift, handicap. We have to bring the handicap to the building, the first floor. And one of the units, it's fully accessible. They have bathroom, a kitchen. And I have, like you see in the garage level, we have one fully the handicap parking with from the lift on the right. You go first floor. The lift, that lift is like on the two-level stops. It stops on street level and goes up to the first floor level. That's the one, yeah. It has access from the garage. Yeah, it has access from the street. You go street, we have stop there, you can see on elevations, I just continue the same design to match existing already approved from design review board, the design. So
the construction right now is stopped?
It's stopped, but
is there a new owner, or is it in the process of changing ownership?
In the process of it's been started February 2008. There's buyer, so it's kind of transaction. He's gonna present our situation.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
And this is all. We need to get going, finish the project.
That's exactly what I'm trying to find out is after, if this variance is granted,
yes,
how soon are you going to resume construction and finish the project? Okay, I'll ask him the question.
Yes, because the thing is, there's one more. We have to go reapprove from the design board, construction documents, start into the building.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let me have your green card. Thank you. Mr. Robert
Emery.
Emery.
Good morning, Ms. Fuentes.
Good morning.
Staff. I represent the construction lender. I'm Robert Emery, and representing All California Funding, which is a construction lender, and their specific investors, which have invested in this property. Unique situation, because when we took it over, I have to go through much of the same exercises as you do, because I have to prove the loan. This loan had an extension of a permit on its original contractor, and he apparently ran out of wind and money and left the foundation nearly short of digging a hole. And so our borrower came forth and asked for funding for the project to take it forward from there, and he ran into financial difficulty. He had another property with us, and so he suffered a setback, and then coupled with the economy slide, we were left with an incomplete project. I immediately applied for an extension and received one extension for the building permit. And at another time, at that time, we actually had a buyer in place. But with the slide of the economy, they got a little bit edgy, and that failed. Otherwise, we would have been completed by now. At this point, since this particular exercise began, we've had a buyer in place, but weren't able to consummate and close the sale. We are in escrow, in which it'll close on the 10th of April. And so he's prepared to proceed, and it's just a matter of, and we'd like to see it go. All of us would love to see this project completed.
Same with the city.
So and we monitored the property continually, and it is benefited by the neighbors because they have constant visual sight of the property. That doesn't stop someone from coming in later hours, because we have that evidence of cigarette smoking on the property. There's an aerial view from a property next door to the east, which makes it very nice for them to actually have a bird's eye view of the ongoings of that. But since that is true, it's also an annoyance every time to get out of bed in the morning to see this property incomplete. We've made continual efforts to make sure the trash has been removed from the front of the property. When you have something abandoned for some time, it's not only attractive nuisance, but also a depot for trash, and so it's been a trial for us all. So we're set. We've been wanting for some time to move this property forward, and we've had great help from all those who have served in planning and building with Glendale, as well as the legal staff.
Right.
So we've worked very hard, and we're ready to close this and move this property forward.
Okay. Is your closing of escrow contingent upon the city's decision?
Absolutely.
I know.
Absolutely. So we're looking forward to being blessed by this exercise, and we're very thankful for the assistance of Mr. Babakani and his due diligence. He moved immediately forward once we found out what the parameters were, achieved that, and I can say that I'm pleased with the design. I think it's actually an enhancement. So architecturally, it's a beautification of a simple architectural design. Actually enhances the design. So we're pleased with that. Hopefully it meets with all your approvals and we can move forward.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else here who would like to speak in support or in opposition to this application? Seeing none, do you have any closing comments, except hope you get the letter out soon? Okay, I'm going to go ahead, take this case under submission, and we'll let you know. Thank you very much for coming. Thank you, Ruther. You're cold, huh? It is freezing in this room. Our last case is Conditional Use Permit 2009030. Location is 2901 and a half Honolulu Avenue. Applicant is Manuel Mier. This is an application for a conditional use permit to allow the on-site sale, serving, and consumption of all types of alcoholic beverages at an existing full-service restaurant located at 2901 and a half Honolulu Avenue in the C1 Neighborhood Commercial Zone, described as a portion of Lot 18, 19, 20, and 21, and a portion of Lots 22 through 28, a portion of the vacated Glenwood Avenue, tract number 6067, and a portion of Lot 14, Block E in Crucena, Cañada tract. And quickly going through some of the comments. I have an email from Rob and Sharon Thompson, basically in support of your application. Okay. While police department didn't have any major concerns or issues, they just gave us the statistics for the area. But Honolulu Avenue, basically, we've allowed the census tract to be higher than the average. Okay, no other major issues or concerns. And to give us an overview, Milka?
Yes, thank you, Ms. Fuentes. My name is Milka Toledo. I'm the case planner for this project. The case is located at 2901 and a half Honolulu Avenue. Again, it is a conditional use permit for on-site sales, service, and consumption of all types of alcoholic beverages at the existing full-service restaurant. So again, it's not limited just to beer and wine. There was a previous conditional use permit on file, and that was 10530-CU. And again, that was to allow the on-site sale of consumption of alcoholic beverages, and it was approved on August 11th of 2003, and it expired on August 1st of 2006. And I will briefly go over some information regarding that in my analysis. The project is located in the C1 neighborhood commercial zone, which again does allow for a full-service restaurant and for this type of service as long as it is conditionally permitted. In the analysis, again, the existing full-service restaurant has been in operation since 1982. It is in keeping with the city's general plan. The business has been operating without a valid conditional use permit for about 2 years. The last CUP was granted in 2003, and it was valid until August 1st of 2006. At that time, the applicant was required to reapply for a new conditional use permit, and currently they are here today trying to correct that violation because, again, they have been operating without a valid conditional use permit for a couple of years. But I don't know the reason behind the lapse of time, but again, the applicant can...
We'll find out. Yeah.
Let us know. The existing restaurant request to sell all types of alcoholic beverage does not require a new city or does not require any new city services. And according to the police department, the census tract in which the property is located allows for 7 on-sale alcohol establishments. And the current census notes that there are 30 on-sale establishments. The fact that there is an overconcentration of licenses does not appear to be an issue for the police department or neighborhood services, again, because they did not have any specific conditions noted in their comments. And in addition, the number of crimes in this census is 82%, and I like to correct my report because I mentioned it is within 87%, but it's actually above 87% of the citywide average. But again, the subject site did not report any police service calls within the last calendar year. And while there have been previous incidents reported in that area, but none specific for this particular establishment. Overall, the proposed establishment, again, has not proven to be detrimental to the surrounding area. The police department, again, reviewed the applicant's proposal and did not have major concerns. And again, this is a small-scale restaurant, and there is on-site parking for its patrons. Staff suggestions would be to limit the hours of alcohol or the sale and service and consumption between 11 a.m. and 10 p.m. Monday through Sunday. These hours would allow the operator flexibility of serving alcohol during lunch and dinner, and require renewal of a conditional use permit within 3 years, and no separate bar shall be allowed.
Okay, thank you. Okay, who will present the case, Manuel or Julian? Manuel, yeah.
Good morning. How you doing, Ms.
Good
Moore?
morning.
How you doing,
Give
Ms.
me
Moore?
your name and address for the record.
This is Manuel Mier, address 2901 and a half, Honolulu Avenue, La Crescenta, California, 91214. Yes. Yeah.
Are you the owner
Yes,
of the
I am.
restaurant? Okay. This is basically, well, although it's a renewal, we're
Yeah, that's
considering
like
it
everybody knows, every renewal of my
brand
license.
new because of the fact that it expired.
Right. I mean, I got to
So-
apologize for that. I didn't know that. I mean, the first time we applied, I thought it just the permit would be fine. So I mean, I expecting, just permit fee or whatever. And finally, I got a letter for you guys. Oh man, well, I got to do it. That was fine. No
You didn't
problem.
read the letter, huh?
Yeah. Well, the first one I did not, but I got the last one. So, but thanks, nice me anyway. By the way, Miss Moore, very nice for her when I talked to my phone.
Okay.
Yes, I don't know what else.
So how long have you been in operation at that location?
9 years.
9
We're in
years.
the 10, yeah.
And what's your hours of operation and days of operation?
Yeah, like you say, it's the Monday to Sunday. We close in Sunday right now, but which is
Don't refer to her.
Never mind, okay.
Answer my questions.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Monday,
Monday to Saturday right now. So in the future, probably Sunday, but right now we're just working Monday
what's
to
the
Saturday.
hours of operation?
11 to 10.
11 to 10. How many employees do you have?
We are 2, 3, 6, 7 with me and my wife.
So 5 plus
Plus
the two of
two,
you.
right.
Okay. Is your state license current?
Yeah, it is.
And can you give us a copy of your state license?
That means the state license, the alcohol,
Or
right?
alcohol, right. And are there any restrictions on your state license as far as how's your hours of operation? Is it until 10 or 11 or 12
That mean
with the state?
no, the state. I don't remember what I say, but the only concern about very much I go for the city road, like you guys. Like you said, I got my permit. Meaning like our business 10, 11 to 10 is the same.
Okay. So basically,
just 11 to 10.
It goes with your hours of operation.
That's correct. That's correct.
Ms. Toledo mentioned a few suggested recommendations. Do you have any concerns, or is everything okay with you as far as limiting the hours up to 10 p.m., which is the same time as your closing hours, I
That's
think, and then requiring that, and we're letting you know now, this conditional use permit, the approval, if it's approved, is only for 3 years. You're going to have to reapply and renew it, and based on your performance and operation, we may renew it for a longer period of time the next time you come back. It could be 5, 7, or 10. So make sure you keep track of the due date.
Yeah. So
And-
sorry, just a quick question. Okay.
And that there be no separate bar allowed. And I'm assuming right now the drinks that you're serving are coming from a kitchen or some
Well,
place.
we call it like a little service bar, right? Which is their special.
But bar for
No.
preparation and all that, there's no chairs or...
Oh no.
Yeah,
No,
just
no,
just a that's a
There room we
preparation.
can keep the alcohol, just.
Okay, what did you want to say?
Oh, it's. There'll be a way you can send me a letter, remind me, or I have to track, or I have to write it down and come
It's
back.
really up to you to keep track of
No, I
expiration.
mean, that's fine. I just, heads, too many things in the
Normally,
head all the
we
time.
normally do it, but don't blame us if we
Oh, no.
don't do it on time.
No, I just want to write it down, so I come by. I come right few days before you're going to expire in 3 years, and I'll reply it again.
You should put a big note
Somewhere,
or,
where they can
somewhere
see
in
it.
your cashier or
So,
something.
I go there.
Renew CUP, let's say
Okay.
9, 10, 11, 12, let's say January of
So that,
2011.
So I just go to the same office, right? Okay.
It will, if we send you a letter, it will tell you
That'll be-
basically
that'll be better
the
for
same
me.
one that you received
Right,
over
yeah.
there. But
Okay.
we want to send you a renewal notice instead of expired notice. So.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else?
No, that'll be all, man. That's very answer my
Everything's
question.
still the same with your
everything's-
operation?
Yeah, everything
Nothing
will be
has
the same.
changed?
Yeah, everything will be the same.
Good, good. Okay. Mr. Moran, do you want to say something, or you just want to say you're in support of the application? Okay. Thank you. Anything else?
No, that'll be the copy for the stay. I send it to you by mail, or I bring it to you to the.
You deal with Milka.
Oh, okay. That's just okay. Thank you, Mr. Wences. Thank you very much.
You can just fax it or mail it or hand deliver it to her.
I'll mail it. Okay, I'll mail it to this one. Right?
I'll write the address for you later.
That'll be good.
Okay, and with that, I'm going to go ahead, take this case under submission, and we'll let you know. And I'm closing the public hearing at 11:30 in the morning. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you very much.